I call this the August 15th, 2023 meeting of the Lincoln County Commission to order. Our invocation tonight will be given by Pastor Steve Hargrove. Steve is the minister of the Community Baptist Church in Ardmore. And our pledge tonight will be given by Cheney Joe Dollar, Braxton McConnell, Blaine McConnell, and Weston Hines. They are the 4 grandchildren of Joyce and Tim McConnell. So if Cheney, Braxton, Blaine, and Weston, if y'all will, come forward with Pastor Hargroves to the meeting place or the speaker right here. Okay. At this time, if you will, stand for the invocation, remain standing for our pledge.
Let's pray. Dear God, I thank you so much for the day that you've given us. God, I thank you for each man and woman in this room that serves Lincoln County as a public servant. God, I thank you for the occasion that we've gathered today. God, as Ms. Joyce McConnell is inducted as the sheriff, God, I pray that you bless her. I pray that you bless her staff, her support people, the deputies, the officers that work for her. God, I pray that you protect them in a time of danger. God, I pray that you give them wisdom when they need to make decisions. God, I pray that you give them courage when they face uncertainty. And most of all, God, I pray that they feel your presence. And God, will we as a community continue to love them, support them, and unite behind them. And God, may you continue to bless Lincoln County, Tennessee. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you, Steve, Cheney Joe, Braxton, Blaine, and Weston. At this time, we'll have the roll call. Just call out how many.
I have 21 commissioners present, 3 absent. Commissioners Walker, Bradford, and Young are absent.
Okay. All righty. You said 21 present. 21 present. Thank you. At this time, our announcements are some good news. Today, I got official notification from the Comptroller's office that our budget was approved. So that's good news, and that just happened today. Also, we have with us Tracy Perkins, our new planner. Tracy, if you will stand up. This is as of October the 1st, the Humane Society will no longer be doing animal control in the city or county. City and I are working on this, so that's the information item, but by October 1st, we'll have something else in place on that. Another good news, Governor Lee will be in town tomorrow, grand opening for errands, so if you see the governor and his escorts, wave and say hi. Let's see, I think then we're ready to move into our public comments. Public comments, at this time we have 8 people who have registered for public comments. You will be limited to 3 minutes. And this is the list and the order that they signed up, and they will be speaking in this order. Spring Brindley, Drew Boggs, Ann Lee Morgan, Jennifer Snoddy, Brett Dye, Marshall Miller, Lewis Buck, and John Rogers. So Spring, you're ready? Clock starts when you start speaking.
We need to be more strategic and start looking down the road. If we start looking 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, we can plan a little better and approach this more strategically. We got to change the way we approach things. We need to be strategic in how we approach things. We need to start planning for how we're going to put in our utilities, roads, schools, EMA, fire protection, police protection. Sound familiar? These are all excerpts from the discussion by Commissioner Eldridge prior to this commission voting to allocate ARP funds to have a study on our growth potential and how we approach things from a strategic process. You passed this amendment with a vote of 17 yes, 5 no, and 2 absent. Commissioner Eldridge, I couldn't agree with you more. This affirms that as a commission, you realize that we need strategic growth plan for our community. Planning, zoning, and industrial development would be a part of any strategic growth plan, if for no other reason, the infrastructure it will take to support responsible industrial growth while protecting our natural resources. Later in this meeting, you will be asked to vote on the rezoning of property on Quarter Road from agriculture to industrial. The property is located on the banks of the Elk River, upstream from where the drinking water is collected for many residents of Fayetteville and Lincoln County. As most of you recognize from the hearing, there are many questions and concerns that have come up from this project. I could stand here and go in depth on any of these forever. In speaking with many of you, the concern with tonight's vote is about approval of the zoning and not the project itself. According to planning and zoning, this application checks the boxes. Well, how about preventing the opening of Pandora's box? We do not know enough about this project or the ramifications. Perhaps we need to reevaluate our process and how our boxes are checked. You just approved $50,000 to develop a long-term strategic plan. Use the study, complete the plan, and actually use it to make decisions on what is best for Lincoln County. If this first-of-a-kind project meets the requirements of our plan once it's complete, then move forward with this. Don't be rushed into a decision because something checked the boxes. We all want growth and advancement for our community, but at the same time, a healthy, safe, and enjoyable place to live. Lincoln County deserves more than a checked box. Lincoln County deserves more than to be a dumping ground for industrial waste. As Benjamin Franklin said, by failing to plan, you are preparing to fail. The last thing I want to see is this commission or any commissioner fail their people and compromise the future of our community. Please do not fail us when you handle the rezoning on Quarter Road this evening. Vote no and keep our community safe. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Drew Boggs. Drew?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'll tell you what, it's bad timing signing up behind spring, right? Golly, my country butt's going to struggle with this. I had spent a lot of hours today preparing a 3-minute speech in which most has all been spoken on, most of my primary concerns. But my name is Drew Boggs. I am a Lincoln County native, and although I do reside in Wilson County currently, I am owner or co-owner of 6 properties here in Lincoln County. And one of them is directly across the street from this property and the very first property downstream. We bought it this year as a river camp. It is a residential lot. We will hopefully was going to eventually build like a barn dominium on it. And man, I just tell you that whether it's this use or any other industrial use on that property, I'm going to be against it. It directly affects me. I know that's a selfish way of thinking, but it's not just me, it's my family, it's my friends that's been gathered there too, and it's all the other people downstream and even upstream in reference to something that could be, you know, chemical or explosion. So all this is prepared for me to basically say that this is a zoning request, and without public sewer available on the site, there's a lot of uses that could happen there. They could change their mind immediately. They could sell the property to somebody else that's already zoned at that point in time. And I just don't know how you can do that without having sewer access. There's a storage building possibility, but that's typically through variance in other counties where you can get industrial zoning on a property in the county that doesn't have sewer access. But the county, I mean, they pretty much always have to have city sewer access, typically public water as well. And annexation, I think it's like 1.5 miles to city limits. I don't think annexation is a possibility going through those all that farmland and ag land. I just don't think it fits, and whatever use it is, guys, I'm not gonna be in favor for it as the position I'm in on that particular property. I wouldn't like to address the Ogles. I love the Ogle family, love Josh, and I know that his faith is the same as mine, and ultimately it's gonna be God's will, and I know that he'll be favored on that property one way or the other. Thank you.
Ann Lee Morgan.
Good evening, Commissioners and Mayor. Thank you for at least agreeing to hear our concerns, and you know they're valid. If not in your backyard, what? It could be in your district next time. If that happens, what? You must, in my humble opinion, remember 3M and the PFA's indicator and how they had to slug it out for years. We're a lot smaller than that, but we're a treasure. Act on that treasure and hold it. Take care of our land. Take care of our water. I ask you to trust but verify all the decisions and information you're given. The devil's always in the details. As elected county officials, you are mandated to guard the environmental quality and safety for all Lincoln Countyans. The next time, it could be in your district. What is? Black fungus, methane gas, the trade-off for tax money, at what expense to our quality of life? Please, your single vote and collective vote on this issue will serve and give whether you did your due diligence for us. Table this project until you can get way yonder more information and make a good, conscientious effort for all of Lincoln County and our future. Thank you.
Jennifer Snoddy.
Good evening, and I don't want to be redundant, and if you haven't figured it out, Spring and I have been working together, so I'm not going to say anything she hasn't already said. I grew up in the Kelso community. My dad was born in a house on Quarter Road that is no longer there. My family and I'm fighting to get my children all back, and I really hate to see our little community be degraded by something because we didn't know any better. And I just feel like we have the obligation to educate ourselves before any of this moves forward. There are too many unknowns, and it's been too secretive for this not to have something hidden in the little part of it. So that's all I have to say.
Britt Dye.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Got a few things that I've already said in the public hearing that's a great concern to the Fayetteville Public Utilities. We have a water treatment plant just right below this site. It's down the river 5.4 miles. We treat a lot of water. We serve a lot of customers. All the entire city is served by the Fayetteville Public Utilities. Big portions of Fayetteville Lincoln County is served by the Fayetteville Public Utilities through the Lincoln County Board of Public Utilities. So, you know, if you have an increase in nitrogen in the river, could pose potential treatment challenges at the water treatment plant. We treat it now, but we can handle it now. But if you get a great abundance of it, it's going to cause problems. Also, I talked with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. They haven't even heard of this project. Why not? The department I talked to yesterday has not heard of this project. Why not? FPU has not heard anything about this project until this past Friday when we had some people to come in here from these other concerned people and told us about it. We ain't even heard nothing about it. Why don't we not hear nothing about it? So I'm telling you, or I'm asking you, to be real sensitive about how you vote for this to see if it's going to work or not. Because you're talking about thousands of people that we serve drinking water to, that if he gets in there and we're shut down for days, we only got enough storage for a little over 2 days. So if we can't pump water, there is no going to be water going to any of the customers. So that's something to really think about. So my last question is to you, commissioners. How important is safe drinking water? And our goal is to provide safe drinking water. Thank you.
Marshall Miller.
Good evening. Thank you all, commissioners. I'm Marshall Miller. I'm general manager for Three Rivers Energy Partners in Lynchburg Renewable Fuels in Lynchburg. Just share a little bit about the story. None of the distillery grains or anything of that is coming to Lincoln County. All the process is taking place in Lynchburg, right behind Jack Daniels. It goes through anaerobic digester. Through that anaerobic digester, same thing that your gut goes through. Through that anaerobic digestion, there is this digestate, this fertilizer that's produced, high in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. And so the reason why this site, it had a for sale sign on it when I drove by it talking to farmers that wanted to use it. So this is in the path that we wanted to look at, to go at, to be able, because that's the farming community. Pipeline easement down the highway, so it had a for sale sign in it, stopped, and that's where we talked. We've already done all, a lot of the permits have been spoken as we're going through the grants and all of that. So TDEC, a lot of the studies have already been done. But the fact is that this is, the fertilizer that's coming is just a liquid. Short term, yes, we'll have to truck it in. Long term is we're already started the process through the state, through TDOT, through TDEC, of establishing an easement to that. Again, farming community out that way, the 6 or 10 other spots that they're speaking of is the next farmer is, I mean, we can't pump it all in a pipeline in one shot. So these will be just like a water tank sitting. They're lined, they're covered, there is no smell. We're running a pilot plant right now at Jack Daniels producing digestate fertilizer. It has been tested. All the nutrients are there. It could be a process that we separate the solids out, and this is only a nutrient water. Yes, we don't. It could be a cattle mineral that's out of the solids that's fed. It could be a solid fertilizer that we pull out before it comes to this plant or to this facility. There is no plant. There is no tanks. This is just what we call a holding facility that we can stop here and then move on to the next spot. So, thank you.
Lewis Buck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, and thank you, public, for those fair and reasonable questions and your attitude toward it. Marshall's going to pass out. We brought 60, so share if you can in the family, however you want to do it. But we got 60. I think what would be useful in time, and we're open to whatever the council wants to do tonight, Mr. Mayor. But let me just sort of bring some big picture, because I know that clarify some information. TDEC does know about it from the commissioner down. The reason they prefer land application of these nutrients is because Elk River and the Mulberry Creeks are impaired. They're on the 303D list. So you can't put more through a water treatment plant into the rivers. So we agree with you, and the whole intent of this is to move those nutrients that are ending up in Mulberry Creek now to farmland. So TDEC is fully supportive, as is EPA. So maybe not at the local level, I'm not challenging that. But we have all the permits, we have all the plans, we're checking all the boxes. And I understand that may not satisfy your needs, but we are checking all the boxes. So big picture is What you're familiar with in Lynchburg now that is locally called the slop is stillage. Stillage comes to us. We send the natural gas, clean it up to pipeline quality, put it in the in a pipeline. Jack Daniels pulls a lot of it back out. The hydrogen sulfide that was mentioned all happens in Lynchburg. We clean that out of the biogas, and we ended up with a sulfur, and farmers are buying sulfur now too. So there's more fertilizer there. But in general, the environmental community supports what we're doing compared to all the other options available to Jack Daniels for expansion, right? That's what it boils down to. Jack Daniels is expanding, and they and Three Rivers are both committed to doing that in a sustainable way. And sustainable means some of that stillage that's currently being fed to cattle goes somewhere else. So that some of that comes to us, not all of it, over a long period of time. And as Marshall said, the best place to put those nutrients is on farmland. Jack Daniels will be buying back corn grown with this fertilizer. It will be one of the largest regenerative agriculture projects in the country. They will pay a premium and buy back that local corn, if you will. The challenge for us is it's a long way from Lynchburg to any cornfield, right? In this handout, we show several pipeline routes. One's to Franklin County, one's to Coffee County, and one's to Lincoln County. As Marshall said, this site was for sale, so we bought it because it was headed in the right direction. It's up to you to decide if it's the right place, and we respect that. Our founders were in the oil and gas business. They know how to pump water. They know how to prevent leaks. They can do line and cover, ponds. You move a lot of water in the oil and gas business. We've got experience doing that and are confident. Trying to look at some of the, currently, we're not making anything new. All this stillage or slop is moving on 18-wheelers now. So there'll actually be 6% less by volume, fewer less trucks coming with digestate than there is currently with slop. So it's the same number of trucks. They may be hauling something different. That's still a lot of trucks, and I understand your point on that. Spring, I appreciate it, but that's a boilerplate, forward-looking statement, and understand all that. As Marshall said, we're about 1.5 to 3% solids. This is mostly water.
10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Okay. Take a look at the handout. It gives you more information about what we're doing from the top down. I acknowledge, because we're still doing planning, that we don't have all the answers. And so your questions are reasonable. But we will go to where the farmers want the fertilizer, and if it's not here, we'll go somewhere else. Thank you.
Yes. John Rogers.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. I introduced myself during the public hearing. I think most of the questions that have been asked tonight are more on the operational side, and so I don't want to get bogged down in those. I think Mr. Miller and Mr. Buck have tried to address in our short time frame what they could answer. Again, we want to try to answer the questions. We want to address the concerns. In order to be able to do what we would like to do, we obviously have to go through the rezoning, so that's a central part of the local requirements. And then, then we'll have our site planning and we'll get everything finalized. As Mr. Buck said, the company is not short-circuiting the requirements at the state level and the EPA. There was one question I'd like to answer. There was one specific question about how far is the pond going to be from the river. The pond is going to be on the, if I remember my compass direction, it's going to be closer to Quarter Road than it is to the river. There is going to be a fair amount of distance between the actual pond location and the river. So I want people to know it's not immediately going to be able to siphon into the river. So that's one thing I want to point out. I've addressed the, generally speaking, the spot zoning issue that came up. But again, we want to answer the questions. We want to be good stewards. We want to be good neighbors. And we hope that the commission will take that into consideration and approve our request this evening. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our public comments, and at this time, we have two separate commission meetings that we have minutes there, and Commissioner Atchley, you said there was something you need to call our attention to. Have you got that, Phyllis, already? Okay. You might go ahead and let us know what that is, where the rest of the commission knows.
On the vote for the tax levy of 2.882.
Uh-huh.
We have me as voting yes, and I definitely voted no.
Okay.
Phyllis knows that, but
Okay.
it was just a.
Okay. With that correction, I would entertain a motion for approval of both those, the July 18th and August 1st commission meeting. Okay. Commissioner Bryant makes a motion. Commissioner Rolls-Walter seconds it. Any questions, comments on those two meetings, the minutes from those two? All in favor of approval, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Unanimously approved. Our next one, we have 5 monthly committee meeting minutes in your packet and 6 quarterly ones. I would entertain a motion acknowledging the receipt of those at this time. Commissioner Spray makes a motion. Commissioner Guthenberg seconds it. Any questions on those? All in favor of the motion acknowledging receipt of those, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Unanimously approved. Well, we get in the fun part of the commission meeting now. We're ready for consideration for approval to appoint Joyce McConnell to the office of Sheriff of Lincoln County. She was the only qualified applicant. She took over automatically after our previous sheriff, Murray Blackwelder, went into retirement, and that's under state law. She was the next one in line. Our next step is for approving her, which she would serve until August 31st, 2024, with your approval for that tonight. What's the will of the commission on this? Commissioner Rogers, I heard, makes a motion. Commissioner Ewan seconds. Any questions or comments? All in favor of that approval of Sheriff McConnell becoming our sheriff for a little over a year, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Unanimously approved. Chancellor Cox, I think I got what you may need for swearing in. At this time, Chancellor J.B. Cox will swear Sheriff McConnell in.
Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
You have others you want to stand here, or is you good where we are? All right. All right. This is going to be an oath for the office of the Sheriff of Lincoln County, Tennessee. Please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joyce Patterson Connell,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will perform with fidelity
that I will perform with fidelity
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
to which I have been elected
to which I have been elected
and to which
I
I am about to assume.
am about to assume.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to support the constitutions
to support the constitutions
of Tennessee
of Tennessee
and the United States,
and the United States,
and to faithfully perform
and to faithfully perform
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Sheriff
of Sheriff
for Lincoln County, Tennessee.
for Lincoln County, Tennessee.
I further swear
I further swear
that I have not promised,
that I have not promised,
nor given,
nor given,
nor will I give
nor will I give
any fee,
any fee,
gift,
gift,
gratuity,
gratuity,
or reward
or reward
for this office,
for this office,
or for aid
or for aid
in procuring
in procuring
the same.
the same.
that I will not take
I will not take
any fee,
any fee,
gift, or bribe,
or
gratuity for returning any person as a juror, or for making any false return of any process. And I will faithfully execute the office of sheriff to the best of my knowledge and ability, according to the law, so help me God.
So help me God.
If Joyce's family would come up and y'all can get a picture here with Chancellor Cox. Y'all would just line up right there with Chancellor Cox and family, Joyce.
Yeah, good if they are. Let me shake your hand while we're doing the photo op. They tested how long I can say that.
Thank you, Chancellor. Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Sheriff, I look forward to working with you. Our next item, we move into planning and zoning. We have 3 items there. Kevin Chastain, I believe, will,
Do you need me further, Mr. Mayor, or the members of the commission tonight?
let somebody acts up.
Well, I can do that. I can do dormant, whatever we need to do. Y'all have a good rest of the
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you very much.
We have 3 items for planning and zoning. Kevin Chastain will do that for us this month. We have 1 for as a call for public hearing and 2 on rezoning. So, Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item is file number 2023-R6. As Mayor, you just mentioned, this is a call to establish a public hearing and on September 19th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. at you all's next meeting. This request is to establish the C1 General Commercial Zone District on property on Huntsville Highway, tax map 102, parcel 28.03. Again, this is a request to establish the C1 zoning on this property. It is quarter mile south of Wells Hill Road, and the applicant is requesting the C1 General Commercial District in order to attract commercial development. The property is located within the urban growth boundary of the city of Fayetteville. Properties to the north, south, and west do currently contain commercial uses. So this request is in line with adjacent property zonings and adjacent property uses. The property is 11.34 acres and is currently vacant. The entirety of the property is being requested for rezoning. No portion of the property is located in a flood hazard zone. And at the Planning Commission meeting on August 3rd, 2023, Planning Commission did provide a favorable recommendation to you all to establish the public hearing at your next meeting, as well as a recommendation to approve the rezoning request. I'll be glad to answer any questions regarding this.
The acreage again, I thought they were just doing a part of the.
This particular request is the entirety of the property.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, all righty, I got you. Okay, what's the will of the commission on call for public hearing on September the 19th at 5:30 p.m.? Commissioner Nix makes a motion for approval. Commissioner Eldridge seconds that. Any questions? All in favor for call a public hearing on this, please say aye. Any opposed, no. Unanimously approved. Kevin?
Thank you, Mayor. The next item on the agenda is file number 2023-R4. This is the rezoning request of Three Rivers Energy Partner LLC. Again, this is a request to establish the I-1 General Industrial District on property located on Quarter Road, north of Winchester Highway. As we've discussed tonight in regards to the project, this is a 42.48 acre tract of land. The request is to establish zoning on the portion located west of Quarter Road. That is a portion of, contains 29.10 plus or minus acres. So again, the remaining portion of that would remain unzoned or A1 within the urban growth boundary of City of Fayetteville.
Okay.
Again, this was considered by Planning Commission at their meeting in July, and they did provide a recommendation to you all to establish the public hearing, which was held earlier, and also made a recommendation to move forward for you all to approve the rezoning to I-1, the General Industrial District. And I will be glad to try to answer any questions that may have come up earlier.
Let's y'all want to do questions before we get even a motion on the floor? Let's get a motion on the floor. We may not even need discussion, I don't know. So I would entertain a motion for what's the will of the commission.
I'd like to make a motion to defer until we get written documentation on environmental impact and copies of their approved permits for TDEC, EPA, and past history of this process. Or, as the man from Three Rivers said, until we get all the answers.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Okay, Commissioner Tackett seconds it. Any discussion?
Can I ask my questions at this time?
It's open for discussion, yes.
I guess we're not using the microphones.
Please do.
Is one working?
It's on.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello? Okay. Woo. All right. I received many calls and questions in regards to this issue. There's no way I can research and respond to each question thoroughly in such a short time. Therefore, I've done my best to compile each question that was posed into one list. So again, if you don't mind, I'll ask, and then you can say whether you feel comfortable answering that or not. But you would be more qualified than I would for a lot of these. So what is the potential danger of runoff and leakage into the Elk River?
I would be unable to answer that question with any kind of specificity without having an actual design to the project. It's kind of difficult to provide that answer to that.
What is the potential for contamination of the Fayetteville-Lincoln County water supply?
Again, I would be unable to answer those type of questions. Any kind of environmental questions, I would be unable to answer without having specific project details and information.
And I'm just out of respect for my constituents.
No, I understand.
How will this impact the habitat of aquatic species and wildlife?
Yeah, I think that would be things that would be contained with any kind of studies they may have completed or are completing at this time, and I'm unaware of what exactly they've completed completely.
What impact will it have on recreation tourism?
I'm not sure how you would evaluate that.
Okay. What is the benefit to Lincoln County, specifically our farmers, or will this only benefit farmers in Moore, Franklin, and Coffee County?
I can give a general answer to that. I mean, I think if it's a fertilizer that farmers are desiring to use, obviously, if it's something that's available closer to your farm, I believe that's obviously a benefit to the farmers here in Lincoln County. I mean, that's more of a general response, but I mean, obviously, if you're wanting to use a product and it's farther down the road, now you have an opportunity to be closer. I think there's just some efficiencies there that would create.
Why are we considering rezoning property to industry outside of our designated areas when we have 3 industrial parks? And I realize that this did not go through the IDB, so, but if you want to elaborate upon that.
I mean, I think, in terms of a rezoning request, someone without, and I'll make the comment of, without a current long-range plan or comprehensive plan, the county does not have a land use plan in terms of any type of projection of what the county has stated in regards to, we feel like this type of development will occur in these areas. And so from a staff perspective, we do not have that to be able to stand on and say the county as a whole has said these are the areas that will develop this way. We feel like these are the areas that will develop other ways. And so in that regards, someone can come in and request a rezoning on any property anywhere. They have the right to come in, at least ask for and submit their information. Doesn't mean it would necessarily move forward in the process or have an approval from you all. So in that regards, they have the opportunity to come and request. From a staff's perspective, without having a future land use plan, it's hard for us to say that does not line up with our future land use plan, because we don't have one currently that we can stand on.
What is the potential for odor? Will it smell like dirt or sulfur, and how far will the smell travel?
I would be unable to answer that. I know Marshall from Three Rivers mentioned earlier that it seemed to be odorless. In terms of the travel of odor, I would not be able to answer that in regards.
What has planning and zoning determined the economic benefit to Lincoln County to be?
Planning and zoning does not calculate economic benefits when it comes to a project.
Okay. Let's see. Some of these were already answered. Was TDEC and the EPA contacted for a professional opinion on the issue?
I was unaware until this evening, but apparently, according to Three Rivers' representation tonight, they've been completely aware of the process.
Would it be more appropriate to table spot zone industrial sites like this until after the Lincoln County Comprehensive Plan has been completed, as this is supposed to identify industry goals, infrastructure needs, growth areas, etc.?
I can't say that would necessarily be better, but I mean, that's an option if you so chose to do that. I mean, essentially would be needing to pass a moratorium to say no industrial zoning until the plan is completed. That's a decision you all would have to make. In regards to spot zoning, that's something that can be looked at case by case. Each rezoning is a case by case situation.
And then the last one, I did have some for Three Rivers, and I gave that to y'all. I don't know if you feel comfortable addressing those tonight or want to look at them and respond later, but were the following factors considered when making the recommendation to the commission, and are the results of that correspondence available? FPU, were they contacted? Environmental site assessment, wetland determination, geographical engineering evaluation and subsurface exploration, threatened and endangered species report, and topographic survey.
In regards to a rezoning request, those items are not required by the zoning resolution of the county. So in that regard, those were not requested. This is a rezoning request for the property. Rezoning to the property would only permit them to have the opportunity to come submit a site plan for that property. Once the site plan was submitted, those would be the type of documents that we could require at that point in time and be able to determine what would be the potential impact of that. Now again, I think they've obviously been in contact with TDEC and EPA, so they may already have those type of answers to that, and they may have already completed those type of studies. But in regards to the ability for us to request that information, when it comes to rezoning, they're simply asking for a zoning on the property to do a specific use. Not until they would submit a site plan would we dig into the details in that regards in terms of requesting any type of environmental issues or reports.
Okay, thank you for answering those questions. As a new commissioner, I just want to state that, you know, when it comes through planning and zoning that we want to do an industrial site and the recommendation is made, and I know this is not a popular sentiment, but I'm going to say it anyways because it's how I feel. I feel like the IDB should be consulted because all of the things that I just asked, this is what they go into when they determine what is appropriate for industry, the location, and et cetera. So I feel like that we should look at making it a rule that when something in planning and zoning is deemed as being industrial, that the bare minimum we should at least consult them and see if they can assist in applying some of these recommendations when seeing whether or not something is good for the community and where it should be. So it's just a suggestion. Again, it's not a popular one, but that's okay. It's the one that I've got. So, all right, thank you.
Great. Any other discussion? Commissioner Bryant?
I don't have any discussion. We got a motion and second properly on the floor to defer. If my parley pro is correct, then the only two things that we can do to the motion to defer to amend it is to either amend the time or the circumstances with which it applies, that is applicable to that motion. As Commissioner Eldridge, and it's been stated tonight, he had a good idea the other night, and we put quite a bit of money into that idea to come up with a 5-year plan to set forth our goals for this commission. This commission's got a pretty good while to sit. So in accordance with those guidelines, I would move that we amend the motion to defer by adding that we defer this motion 3 years and to give us time to come up with a proper plan that we voted for last year, our last commission meeting.
Okay. There's a motion to amend for a 3-year deferment before a decision once that the plan was in place. Do I have a second? Commissioner Coley seconds that. Any discussions on the 2-year deferment? 3 years, excuse me. 3-year deferment. Okay. The vote on this, you're voting on the amendment. This is not voting on to defer. This is voting on an amendment. If we do defer, would be 3 years. Then we'll vote on if it passes or fails. Okay, everybody understand? Okay, all in favor of the 3-year deferment after the county plan is in place, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no.
No.
Okay, the people that are voting no, please raise your hand so we can notate that, okay? Commissioner Gunthenberg, Commissioner Rogers, was anyone else? Okay. Okay, now that passes. Now we have a motion to defer for 3 years because the amendment to that. Any discussion on the amended motion? Everybody understand? Any questions? Now's the time to ask.
So this is putting it off for 3 years?
That's right. That it would defer a decision. This is not saying it's approved in 3 years. This is deferring 3 years to make a decision on if you're going to change the zoning to I-1.
You still have to come up with vote.
That was, pardon?
Still have to come up with vote to be rezoned.
That's exactly right. Okay, everybody understand what you're voting on? Y'all want a roll call vote? Let's have a voice vote and we'll decide. All in favor of that motion to defer, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Okay, that was unanimously approved. Kevin, next item.
The third and final item this evening from Planning and Zoning is file number 2023-R5. This is a request to rezone a portion of property from A1 to C1 Commercial District. This is located on Huntsville Highway, tax map 139, parcel 25. The property totals 6.27 acres. They're requesting to rezone 1.58 acres. This is the portion closest to Huntsville Highway that is being rezoned or requested to rezone to commercial general, and the remaining 4.69 acres will remain A1. Again, there are 2 existing parcels that are also zoned commercial, one adjacent to this, as well as property to the south that is also zoned commercially. So this rezoning request is in keeping with current zoning of adjacent properties as well as current adjacent commercial uses. And the property is currently vacant. There are no areas of special flood hazard area on the property. And again, this went to the Planning Commission meeting in July, and they had made a recommendation for you all to establish a public hearing, which occurred this evening, at which point there were no comments at the public hearing this evening for this rezoning. And Planning Commission also recommended you all vote to establish the C1 zone district on this portion of this property.
And my
glad to talk.
apologies, that, I was
Yeah.
confused
No, I
on
understand.
this one with the first one. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for getting that cleared up for me. All right, everybody understand on this one? This is a call for rezoning on this. I would entertain a motion. What's the will of the commission on this item? Commissioner Sanders makes a motion for approval. Do I have a second? Commissioner Rolls seconds that. Floor is open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the rezoning, please say aye. I'm sorry.
I just have a question. Being new, and I understand that I can attend planning and zoning meetings, and I have when I'm able to. I just feel like I don't get enough information.
Okay.
Like, why is planning and zoning moving this forward? What, you say it checks boxes. Well, what are those boxes?
I didn't say check boxes,
Oh,
but
sorry, somebody did.
yeah.
What are, why, how did we get to this point? I guess is my question. And I understand that we get the information as far as the name and the acre, but, a map of where it's even located.
This particular property did.
It should have been in your it should have been in there.
Oh, I see it now. Okay. But do we do, I guess I feel uncomfortable sometimes making these decisions based on what little information I have. Is there more that the planning and zoning can give us? I guess that's my question.
In regards to our process and how we review it or how we look at it, or is that a correct?
Yes,
question?
yes.
Okay. I'll be glad to tell you. Once we receive a request for a rezoning, we're going to look at the property. We're going to look at the adjacent properties. We're going to look at, in this case, they are requesting to rezone a portion of the property to commercial 1, leave the remaining part A1. So in this case, we looked at the adjacent properties. 2 properties to the front owned by the same owner were zoned commercial. Properties to the south were zoned commercial. There are existing commercial uses. I believe there may have been some properties across the street that are also zoned commercial. So in that regard, it's on a major highway, so there's adequate access for a commercial business. Commercial business is going to generate more traffic than residential development, most likely. And in that regard, it's on a major highway. It's on a major route. Also, too, it matches existing zoning adjacent to the property, or as well as adjacent uses. And so, in that regard, we look at that and say, okay, this would be an appropriate rezoning of this property in this location.
So, like the property we just spoke about, the properties touching it, are they industrial?
They are not. There is industrial up highway there, Winchester Highway. So in that regard, it is adjacent to Winchester Highway. You think about where would you want industrial or commercial uses. You want those on your major roadways. So in that regard, you're looking at a request to have something that could potentially have high traffic. If it's not high traffic volume, it would still be larger,
I guess that would just
trucks.
help me moving forward to know where their logic is coming from.
Sure. But, we
would
can.
help all of
Yeah,
us.
we can. I try to do that a little bit in the sections. Here, just hear some of this information. I can try to be more clear with that, but that's kind of where I try to put some of the information as far as adjacent uses, adjacent zonings, things of that information. Again, and I mentioned it earlier, again, moving forward and developing the comprehensive plan, a key component of that is a future land use map. Obviously, that's not something I will create or the staff would create. That's going to be something that's created throughout the process, through everyone in Lincoln County have an opportunity to create that. And so as a staff person, when you have that map, you're able to say, hey, the county, the people of the county said, we see this area developing this way. So when staff has that and a rezoning request comes in, then I could look at that and say, hold on, this is in line with our future land use map, or this is not in line. Now, if it's not in line, it's not an absolute no, but you have to study it a little bit more and try to have some understanding of why they requested that, what was the emphasis behind making that on the future land use map. So I'm not making excuses, but that is a tool that would be very, very beneficial for your staff in the future, to be able to have that to stand on. For them, when they have discussions with individuals, for planning commission to make decisions, and you all to make decisions if it comes this far. So I commend you all for doing that and providing the funding for that, because that's a huge tool for any community to have. In regards to not having one at this time, it'll be huge for you all and benefit going forward. So without having that, I kind of go through the process like I was just describing to you. I just have to look at transportation routes, if it's a commercial use, is it a major transportation route? Is the other properties nearby it, are they zoned the same way? Are they not zoned the same way? Are they similar intensities in terms of potential uses and things of that nature? So without that map in place, we just have to look at the other components that surround the property. And I'll work on trying to maybe add that a little differently or write that a little differently in the reports.
All right, thank you.
Kevin, do you, if they wanna go from this to commercial, do you always have, we wanna change this to C1 because we're fixing to put in a grocery store, or we're fixing to do this? Or do you have that, or is that required,
They do make a statement on their application as far as their purpose behind the rezoning. They're not required to turn in a full site plan or anything of that nature to.
Is that in here?
Yeah, it just they made a general statement of they're looking to do commercial development on the front portion of this property, which this property owner owns.
Well, I understand that if they're going to C1, they want to do commercial.
Well,
They didn't give you any idea what they're going to do.
No, so rezoning to C1, you would have only a certain number of uses that would be permitted on that property. And so they could request the C1 and they have only those uses that would be permitted.
Kevin, I'm looking at this site plan. It's showing that this land is going across the neighbor next to it, their driveway. Who has the easement there? What I'm looking at, their driveway is cut off.
The easement is there for, the easement comes across,
Very front.
yeah, the easement is there for access to the home there. Yeah, this was not a full plat, this was just a.
I think it was off the tax card.
Yeah. So,
Looking at this blue one,
yes.
and it cuts off the driveway.
Well, yeah, the driveway does go across the portion of this property that will remain A1, and there is an easement across that to allow continued access to the home that there. Yes.
Any other questions? All in favor of the zoning change, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Unanimously approved. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all.
Our library report, Megan's not here. We're going to put her back in a regular rotation for Commissioner Cunningham. We're ready for the IDB report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fellow Commissioners, time for our quarterly Industrial Development Board report. Try to be brief tonight here. We've got production is now underway at Arinscope, and they currently have over 200 employees. They are just going to be a tremendous community partner, already graciously given to the community in multiple ways, including a large donation to the Lincoln County school system to support our STEM program. So I'm sure Dr. Heath is very appreciative, and we just welcome them to the community. Think they're just going to be a great addition for us. The IDB continues to work with the state and the consultant team for the potential site certification for the Horizon Industrial Park. And TDOT's access road design and construction is just vital to the project through the certification process. TDOT has completed the survey, and they're currently preparing the right-of-way plans, and we don't expect probably to hear much from them until late spring, early summer 24 for this right-of-way field review. TDOT is working on our project, and they're doing that, I guess, in between existing projects that they're doing that already have an industry on the hook. Should we secure an industry in the park, then they could expedite our project. And we have submitted Horizon Industrial Park for multiple projects and are continuing discussions with those prospects. The IDB had received 2 grants to assist with our funding for the project to construct the 100,000 square foot building pad on the 30-acre site there at the Bullington Industrial Park. This is the only available site within the Bullington Park. The boundary survey is expected to be completed this Friday. The engineer will then begin site plans to prepare bid packets. We aim to have all the items in place to begin construction hopefully by the middle of November. Getting out to Runway Center, there are 2 available commercial lots at the entrance of Runway Center, which are listed on LoopNet and IDB's website, we had recently installed a sign out there at the entrance to market these sites. These two sites and the 26-acre pad ready site are the only available sites that we have at Runway Center. Current owners within Runway Center are Heratech, T&W Operations, InDesigns, and Dayton Freight. And of course, we'll feature a public safety complex, at some point in the future. T&W Operations and Dayton Freight, we had hoped Dayton Freight would already have started construction. Just a difficult time to be trying to build any kind of facility. Still got major supply chain issues. So, it's a problem trying to get something started. So I think they're going to wait just a little bit longer. But anyway, we continue to see a steady flow of projects from the state and TVA, as well as site consultants and direct contacts from other companies. And we have hosted multiple site visits. Copperwell's expansion projects are wrapping up at 49 and 40 East Park Drive, and they're recently opened an offset testing lab. IDB continues to host bi-monthly meetings with our plant managers and our HR directors of our local industries. These meetings give our industries an opportunity to network with their peers and also discuss any current issues that they may be having. Interesting enough, the group had identified two primary issues that are facing this community and the industries within this community, which is a lack of housing and child care. Our partners at the state level have provided opportunities towards solutions, and we're trying to work through the next steps on those opportunities. The IDB has spoken with several developers about the lack of housing in Lincoln County, and our next step is a housing study, and we're currently exploring opportunities for grant funding to assist with that housing study. Gives us more detailed information for our community, hopefully to share with these developers. That's some of the information that they're wanting. So the Tennessee Department of Human Services is looking into surveying our existing child care facilities to help expand capacity and or hours of operation to accommodate employees' needs. There are funds available through the department to assist with expansion opportunities. So there's been some areas in the state where state funding was used to help expand some daycare, so we can get more of those. There's a lot of moms, and I'm sure some dads too, that are in there that just can't work because they've got 3 or 4 kids or whatever, and the cost of daycare is just unbelievable, and it's almost not worth working, unless you make a really good salary. So they're trying to assist with those expansion opportunities. Interesting, they've also worked with some industries who set up their own daycare there within the facility. So that's something else that they're looking at, but it's a big problem for us. Almost all of our industries are currently hiring. Turnover is still a problem. Got people that come in at 7 o'clock and start the shift and go to lunch and never come back. The IDB continues to seek ways to enhance our workforce. The IDB had recently received an award notification from TVA on the TVA Workforce Invest project with the Tennessee College of Applied Technology to create a 13-week industrial maintenance boot camp. And this will assist our industries by enhancing the skill level of their current workforce. These industrial maintenance guys and gals, we've talked about this. Every quarterly report, I think the need is tremendous for those jobs, and gosh, they pay really good money too. So JCF Housements is closed. IDB is working with many partners to achieve a positive resolution for the community after this unfortunate news. Elaine has also been working with many of the employees for months, assisting them in transitioning to jobs, with local employers. So that was unfortunate news. One of our Tennessee Economic Development 3-star goals this year for the IDB was to help develop a plan to recruit more retail to Fayetteville and Lincoln County. And we formed a retail strategy committee and working with Amy Bird, the Main Street Director, Mr. John Hatfield, who is a Fayetteville resident and also a Tennessee Economic Development employee, and Fayetteville Mayor Donna Hartman to explore retail and commercial opportunities here in the community for that. So excited about that project. Consultant Connect has named Elaine Middleton, the Executive Director of the Fayetteville Lincoln County Industrial Development Board, one of North America's top 50 economic developers of 2023. What an honor for Elaine. Consultant Connect, it's a consulting agency, and they're kind of designed to bridge the gap between economic developers and site consultants. The economic development professionals selected in this were nominated by their colleagues for both the economic development and site location consulting industries, and also for their excellent practices, innovation, and success in building the communities they serve. Each person in the top 50 will be featured in this Consultant Connect magazine and will have the opportunity to share industry knowledge and leadership insights in career wisdoms with their fellow industry professionals. Since 2010, Ms. Middleton has led the development of 3 industrial parks, assisted manufacturers in relocating and expanding here in Lincoln County, which has created over 2,000 new jobs and investments of more than $625 million. That's since 2010. With her leadership, the IDB has made applications and has been awarded grants that were utilized for industry relocation, expansions, workforce training, creation and expansion of workforce training programs, infrastructure enhancements, industrial grade access roads, spec buildings, and pad-ready site construction, community development and tourism grants, site development, and many, many more, which has resulted in over $22 million in grants that we have received in that period of time, and that's a heck of a lot of cash. We are so proud of Elaine and Emmy Lou for the work that they do. You know, it was interesting looking at the list of the top 50 and where they were located. I'm sorry, about to lose my voice. But, I mean, they were in Phoenix and Dallas and, you know, greater Miami area. I mean, they were all in big metro areas. And then here we are, little bitty Lincoln County, Fayetteville, and Lincoln County, Tennessee, with our director up there. And like I say, this is based on production. This is not some, oh, I got a buddy that got me in up there, you know. This is a real honor for not only Lane, but also for Lincoln County and the IDB board and all that they've done. So, like I say, really proud of Elaine, Emmy Lou, and the board. If you have any questions, be happy to try to answer them. And if I can't, certainly get you an answer. Anybody got any questions?
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. Tonight, we do not have a Budget Committee report because those were taken care of in our called meeting on August the 1st. So we are ready, I think, for the notary publics.
I have Monica McGill by Commissioner Guntherberg, Steve McWhorter by Commissioner Spray, Abrianna Lewis by Commissioner Sanders, Anjanette Counts by Commissioner Spray, William Bowles by Commissioner Spray, Charlotte Gardner by Commissioner Caldwell, Bonnie Caldwell by Commissioner Rolls-Walter, Catherine Bartlett and Chase Bartlett by Commissioner Caldwell.
Okay. Any additions? Entertain a motion for approval of those for notary public. Commissioner Mitchell, welcome back to the world, and thank you for that. And Commissioner Guntherberg, you second that? All righty. Any questions, comments? All in favor of approval of that list, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Unanimously approved. We are now open for any new business that might come before the commission.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Guntherberg makes a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Gewin seconds. All in favor of approval, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. We're adjourned.